Two ex-wives want the Supreme Court to rule that they should have had more money after divorcing. Both women say their ex-husbands misled judges about how much they were worth. A panel of Supreme Court judges have begun analysing the women's claims at a hearing in London.
Two women are heading to the highest court in the land this morning to try to overturn what they describe as unfair divorce settlements. Alison, Sharland and Varsha, Gohil both say that their exes deliberately misled the courts about how rich they actually were. Our legal correspondent Clive Coleman is outside the Supreme Court. And Clive, Alison Sharland, I'm reading, actually got a divorce settlement of $10 million, but he's arguing that her husband could have paid her much more because he managed to conceal how wealthy he is.
Absolutely. I mean, these two cases, Victoria, and this case, the Sharland case, is a big money divorce, but this is really important for every single divorce. These cases go to the heart of the family justice system because what they're about is honesty when people are getting divorced and admitting, as it were, or detailing the assets that they have. And the reason why it's so important is that the UK generally, but London in particular, is seen as the divorce capital of the world. And the reason for that is that in any marriage of any sort of duration whatsoever, there is generally a 50-50 split of assets. And that means there is a massive incentive for people to hide their assets. Now, as you say, in Alison Sharland's case, she took a settlement of £10 million. It later transpired that her husband, a very successful internet entrepreneur, had been dishonest in not giving full details to the court of the value of his very successful company. Now, it was later valued by the financial press at around £600 million. Now, she went to the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal said, yes, he was dishonest. He didn't detail his assets fully, but it wasn't significant. You wouldn't have got more money even if he had. She's appealed that decision to the Supreme Court, and the issue is, you know, should the dishonesty alone entitle her to renegotiate her divorce settlement? And as I say, critical, because in smaller divorces, normal divorces, hiding 10, 20, 30,000 pounds can be absolutely critical. Now, I'm with Mark Harper, who is a specialist divorce lawyer, not involved in this particular case, I should add. But Mark, just tell me, why is this such a significant case?
Well, quite simply, as you said, on divorce, couples have to be honest about what assets they have. And if people lie about what assets they have, the court system can't function. And it's surprisingly easy to hide assets, and lots of especially wealthy husbands do so.
Yeah, I mean, wealthy husbands really don't like getting divorced in this jurisdiction. They don't like getting divorced here because it costs them.
Yes, there's no doubt that here wives get far bigger awards than they do in other countries, and that's because of the 50-50 rule of all assets made during the marriage.
So we've got a system at the moment, it seems to me, and this will really, I think, surprise people, whereby you can be perhaps a little bit dishonest, as you can not admit to certain assets as long as it's not significant.
Yes, in Sharland, what the judge said was, although the husband had clearly lied to the court about the possible sale of his business in the future and the value of it, that wasn't material, meaning it wasn't a big enough lie to have made a difference to the overall outcome. And that's really the crux of the case, where if someone has lied, then should that mean that you start all over again and the court looks at everything afresh, or does the court still hold someone to the original agreement?
And that's what we should get a ruling on in this case. In other words, if you tell one lie, will that be enough to unravel the whole thing so that you can renegotiate, get a second chance?
That's right, and that's why unusually today there are 7 judges hearing this appeal. In the Supreme Court there are usually 5, so that usually means this raises a very important point of principle for the general public, and that is, if there's an agreement reached and later it's clear someone has lied about their assets, does that mean someone can start all over again, tear up that agreement, or does it only depend on whether the lie is material, it makes a significant difference to the outcome?
And tell me, in your experience, you've done countless divorce cases. Do people really, there is obviously an incentive to hide money. Do they do that because they have to fill out a long form, I think it's called Form E, where they're told they have to declare every single bean, every bit of pension, every building society account? Do they hide money?
A surprising number of people do, and that's because there's a very big incentive. Because it's 50-50, it's 50-50 of what can be found. And it's relevant even in the, ordinary cases.
Okay. So, Victoria, I think this is a case which is going to resonate with a lot of viewers to the programme, because it absolutely goes to the heart of the financial settlement on divorce and what you should declare in terms of your assets, and what you have to declare, and what's going to happen to you if you decide you're going to hide a bit. So we'll get a judgment. I think this is a 3-day hearing. We probably won't get a judgment for a month or so after that, but eagerly awaited.
Thank you very much, Clive. Absolutely, and I know you'll be back to tell us the outcome. Thank you, Clive Coleman at the Supreme Court in London.